Welcome to episode 2 of the Roots of Boxing podcast. Myself, Craig Cameron, Craig Scott, and a very special guest tonight, David Jamieson, aka the Carbonara Man.
Oh no, you've been speaking to Michaela.
What is the deal with Carbonara Man, mate? She says she couldn't tell us a story because you've only recently got married, but you might divorce her if she told us, so she didn't tell us the detail,
right?
But we do enjoy pasta, so...
Okay, well, you see, I'm a massive carbonara fan. Obviously, Michaela's told you.
Right.
But there's a certain way to go about making carbonara.
Okay.
I'll explain to you.
I know, David.
Yes.
The Italian way or the cream way?
Egg yolks. No cream. Shouldn't have any cream, no dairy or anything. It should be egg yolks, parmesan, pancetta, garlic and olive oil. That's you. That makes the best carbonara you'll ever taste.
There we go.
There you go. So you've already guessed. So Craig has been speaking to his wife today, so that's maybe not the only point we're going to bring up.
Dear.
I'm actually disappointed because I was trying to source you some weird 50p pieces because I know she gave some to the window cleaner and I know you were a bit pissed off with that, so we tried to get you some but we couldn't get any weird 50p's unfortunately.
The Paddington Bear 50 pences. I've got quite the collection up the road, by the way.
You got the Olympics ones?
Oh no, listen,
Okay.
yeah, some of them, but not the boxing one. So there you go. Aye.
So David, can you see why he sat further away from you and he's just going to hit you?
I see. Aye, it's still not going to save you, by the way. Still not going to save you.
We're just going to pepper in some random facts, but yeah, obviously great to be joined by David Jamieson, cruiserweight destroyer and the second most influential man from East Kilbride in boxing.
After Del G.
After Del G, not.
And then I was actually going to talk about the hardest men in East Kilbride, and I had Del G number 1, David Jamieson's number 2, and I think you rated it something like 3,242nd.
That was
would that be fair?
That was a career high performance. It was. I'm no hard, but what I can do is I can make other people seem less hard by writing about them. So just be careful.
Hiding behind the pen.
I actually spoke to Del earlier on, and I said, any funny stories about Mr. Jamieson himself? Mm-hmm. He said no funny stories as such, but he remembers he was about 17 and he said he remembers some guy coming into the gym asking if he was Derek Gregg, and he thought the guy was about 18 looking to batter him for something that had happened outside the gym, but it was a 14-year-old David Jamieson who was just a fucking unit apparently.
Aye,
remember that?
That would have been a Billy Leach's circuits class or
aye,
something
probably.
Or maybe at the Miners' Welfare, I do remember, aye.
What do you remember about Del back in the day?
Del, right, well aye, we can go right into this. So before I'd actually entered into the boxing circles or anything like that, Derek went to Duncanrig, and it was the young Mossy Dairy, wasn't it?
It was, aye.
The Moss New young team, and Derek was just flatlining MD that stood in his way. So we used to get in the bus for St Bride's High School, and it would pass through Moss New, and everybody would be there's Del G, and it was just this pure aura of terror because he was Del G the boxer, and he could fight, he could punch.
He was in my year, so I used to remember him every time somebody would try and have a scrap with him, he would literally knock them out.
Just wipe them out, cleaned
It wasn't
out.
fair, it wasn't a fair contest.
But then obviously as years passed, then you get to know the guy and you realise he's a really nice person and blah blah blah, and it's all just water under the bridge. Shouting at the bus window, pointing at him, you're getting it, when really he's not getting it.
What were you a member of an East Kilbride gang? Were you White Hills?
I was fat and ginger, so that was my gang.
Me too, mate.
And there was only one person in that gang. That was it. It was just me, just fat ginger Dave. So that was my gang, and hence why I had to learn to fight.
Good to have you on, mate. Obviously looking to have a little bit of a chat. Roots of Boxing, we'll try to do a couple of different things. We had the Long Life Stories episode with Tommy Gilmore. Shout out Tommy Gilmore.
Yep.
And now we're looking to do a bit of a raw conversation with yourself. Obviously big fight coming up for you, mate, which we'll touch on in a little bit of time. I guess, what are you hoping to get out of this, mate?
Well, it's for an IBO Intercontinental or International title. For the last week or so, I've been sitting actually staring at pictures of the belt on Google. So aye, as much as everybody says it's all about the money and the fame and all the glory and stuff like that, I've still pretty much got the rise to be taking that belt up the road with me. It's a nice bit of silverware, and I'm glad I'm getting the opportunity to box for something like this on my road up.
Yep.
I wanted to box for the Scottish cruiserweight, but there's just no other Scottish cruiserweights out there for me to box. So it's nice to be picking up a wee bit of silverware like this on the routes to bigger and better things.
Yeah, 100%.
See, David, see, like I done an interview with you. It was maybe probably about 6 or 7 months ago, and I think you thought at the time there was a fight getting lined up with Ian Martell. Is that still been in the works? Has that been in the kind of background, as it were?
Don't know how much I can say about this, but I can probably say what I need to say. There's a show coming off 8 weeks after I box next week, on the 23rd of April at Braehead Arena, and all going well. I know things are done on my side. Ian should be making the jaunt up to get a scalping at Braehead. So it's a tasty one. Yeah,
that's good. All going well. I'll scalp Martell. Like that.
It's nice.
How many scalpings did you get at school, Craig? Just before we move on.
I was actually in David's gang, but in a different school. The wee fat gingers.
Aye,
that was me. I was part of that team as well.
that was a hard paper round, wasn't it?
We one thing we should touch on as well. You've come here very well dressed today. We bit of a Tommy Hilfiger, which I like that jumper as well. You did, and Greg's going to flash up a wee picture. You did tell me you were going to wear a certain type of footwear. Greg, if you could pop that up for us, mate. What's the reason for not wearing that kind of footwear? Those leather.
Well, I've sort of met you in the middle. I've got my scissors in the car, so I was just going to cut the toes off my Levi boots.
But we do have a picture that will flash up as well, which shows that you have always been a man of exceptional clobber. And it's a picture taken from your Ibiza folder. From your Facebook. You've got a nice wee multicoloured vest, you've got a pint of lager, and you've got a motorcycle helmet on.
Crash helmet, I like to call it.
Oh, the crash helmet. It was candy apple on Ibiza. That was, listen man, that was some week. That was a life-changing week out there.
It looked like it. It did look like it.
The crash helmet was necessary, put it that way. Damage limitation.
So there was a story when you used to met at a certain Kinnick Promotions night that I didn't have the joy of being there, and there was a certain guest I was hoping you were going to tell us a story.
Right, I'll let
from your perspective.
A very special guest. The specialist of guests.
This guy, man. So I'll let David tag in and tell the story from his point of view, because I was on the beers as well. Sorry, Sam. But I was on the lagers, and I met David, and we were standing in like a wee doorway, weren't we? Because there wasn't really any seats, and we wanted to just stay out the way. Both high profile, obviously. We wanted to just keep ourselves to ourselves. And out of nowhere, this fucking guy just appears behind us both, didn't he?
Aye, it's like the entrances into the main hall at the Crown Plaza. There's 3 main double doors in, and there's like a wee sort of like, how would you call it? Like
a wee alcove type thing.
Bit. So we were standing in there, kitchen party stuff, wasn't it? Pint in hand. I was obviously a pint of water.
Yep.
And then this wee guy just sort of went, I think he slipped under the door. He didn't slip in the door. I think he actually slipped under the door, right? It was like Harry Potter stuff. And he just appeared, and he was like Mr. Magoo. He was the strangest wee guy. Like sort of dweeby, almost.
He was. He'd like nothing against glasses, obviously. But he'd glasses on. He'd like kind of short hair. He looked like he was wearing his dad's suit. You know that picture of David Price where he's got the fucking massive suit on.
It was that suit. It was that suit.
It was. And his eyes were popping out his head, man. And he was like, "All right, boys." And we're like, "Aye, how you doing, mate?" And then he started. Was he like giving the boxers advice, and he was slagging them off, or
no? It took the strangest of turns. He appeared. Nothing fitted him.
No,
his glasses didn't fit his head. His suit didn't fit him.
His eyes were too big for him at that point as well.
Mega saucers. But he started. The conversation ended up going. Like, I mean, you were getting relationship advice. He was giving you advice on what your missus' next career move should be.
Aye.
He was then tearing shreds off the 2 guys who were trying to kill each other in the ring.
Yep.
And giving them pointers. It was so just
bizarre.
It was.
And then I looked round, and I'm like to David. I went, "David, look at his fucking nose, mate." Right? And like both nostrils, he had big, like massive white rings around his nostrils. Right? Probably the flu. And so I said to him, I was like, I said, "You just back for the toilet, mate?" And he went, the most intense face ever, didn't he? Just at both of us, and he went, "I've just took fucking hunters like here." And we were both like that. You'd never tell, mate. You'd never tell.
Sugar donut stall outside. You know what I mean?
Fucking nightmare, man. And then he just dissolved into the ether, didn't he?
Just sort of, up in a puff of smoke,
mental.
or a puff of powder. Poof,
we watched
gone.
we watched the next round and we just both looked at each other like, did that just fucking happen there? That was bizarre.
It was actually tremendous to be a part of.
It was great.
Oh, listen, serious stuff.
They'll never take that away from us.
No.
I can't wait to track both of these down at the Trump Hotel for the next one after he sees this episode.
Aye, good luck. You want to be able to find his fucking arms in that suit floating about. Good luck to him.
It's going to be some, like, one of Sam's fighters, like cousins or something, and it's going to be there in the night.
Listen, I just wish we'd get his number off him because the patter was unbelievable, actually. Aye.
What is it your wife does? She's a doctor. Has she thought about that career? It's like, pretty safe, mate. Pretty safe career.
I was going to touch on, so part of the episode that we're doing Raw in terms of a kind of shorter format in regards to the last episode we done, Craig, and a bit more in depth. This is more about happenings in boxing and focusing specifically on Scottish boxing as well. So the St Andrews Burn Supper show was last night, and just to kind of run through that, so Martin Harkin, who's now working with Gary Jacobs in his corner, is kind of new lease of life. So he actually got a third round stoppage. There was a bit of a shock in terms of Andy Tam, so he was upset by Sandeep Singh Bhatti on the scorecards. Josh Campbell in his second fight, so he moves to 2-0, flanked by trainer and friend of the show Joe Ham Senior. So yeah, it was good to see these boys back. The Burn Supper is always a kind of popular date in the calendar for Scottish boxing. It had to be delayed slightly. So it was good to see that return last night. And thanks for a bit of an update from my friend Alan Payne, because I had just returned from Paris yesterday, so I couldn't make the show, unfortunately.
You had, he said Paris was good.
But yeah, just before we move on, like,
skipped over Paris. I see that. He just skipped right over it.
Just over
something's
Paris.
obviously went on.
To be stories. Come on, get it out.
But Martin Harkin,
good boy, Martin. I like him.
Yeah, Martin's a great guy. But it's just good to see. It's good to see Gary Jacobs in the corner, and it looks as if Martin's enjoying that, and hopefully see more fighters go with Gary Jacobs and just use that experience really. Like,
I think it's good. I think Gary's obviously done what he's done as a fighter himself as well, and I think sometimes maybe unfairly brushed under the carpet his achievements as a fighter. He doesn't really get mentioned as much as I think he should. You look at the guys he's fought: Pernell Whitaker, he fought Buddy McGirt. You know, he was very dominant domestically as well, and he kind of pops up here and there, and he's the first one to help in corners and gyms and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's good to see him working with Martin Harkin, who we both know, and we both have got a lot of time for. I know he's working with Lily Ella as well, obviously an up-and-coming young professional. She's fighting for the third time, I think, in a few months. Yeah, so it's good to see Gary involved again, and I guess it's all about fit, and you probably know this more than we do. Sometimes trainers might take a while to find somebody they click with. Sometimes they just don't click at all, and maybe it takes even years to develop a style that will work for you.
Aye, or even sometimes it goes years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and fighters and trainers never click, and they can't work out why things aren't. You know, Gary's, I've got all the time in the world for Gary. He's a cracking guy. More so over the last maybe 2 years or so, been in gyms with him. He's now obviously training Lily Ella, so she was through in our gym on Thursday night for sparring with Beth.
She trains with Beth. She spars with Beth quite a lot.
Great sparring, pay to watch stuff.
Yeah.
But no, Gary, he always makes the time. He's never wanting to overstep the mark. But you should be listening when Gary Jacobs speaks. You should be listening to what the advice he's going to give. He's got a wealth of experience beyond anybody that I know. But he always takes the time out and gives you wee pointers here and there. Asks how you are. Cracking guy, Gary. Great for Scottish boxing. And as you said, you should maybe have more fighters going towards that.
Do you think? Because obviously you're training with Jerry Higgins, cracking guy as well. Jerry spoke to him a few times recently, and Jerry's maybe somebody who again is been waiting for the chance to kind of impose himself professionally with a kind of breakout star like yourself. I know he trains a couple of other fighters. What is it that makes some trainers favourable in terms of fighters gravitating towards them, like these guys that have got big stables, big healthy stables, and then maybe somebody like Gary or somebody like Jerry, maybe Is it location? Is it geographically where they're based?
Do you know, it's a strange one. It's a right good question to ask that. There's obviously like the popularity thing as well. You look at like more high profile trainers down south.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, Mick Conlin's training with like Adam Booth, and then all of it, Josh Kelly's training with them, and they get more and more fighters. But does it really merit these guys going with them? Does it? Just because they're training other high profile fighters? I don't know. I started training with Jerry. I trained with Blantyre Miners Welfare for 10 years, and then there was a sort of power struggle there, and Tam Campbell left and opened up Priestfield Boxing Club. Yeah. And very shortly after that, Jerry Higgins appeared on the scene, and Jerry came from Hamilton Boxing Club. And right off the bat, me and Jerry just clicked. A lot of it, the same sort of thought in boxing circles, yeah, but patter as well. We just got each other. We were friends first and foremost before we were coach, and coach and fighter. So it's I don't know. It's a tough one. It's how do you put a gauge on that? It's working just now, so you just need to run with it.
I guess building that trust and building that kind of rapport and that friendship beforehand gives you a bit of a foundation as well, doesn't it? So you can build on that. Is
it a fine line and a hard balance, Davey, for you? Because you mentioned there quite rightly that for me there has to be that connection between the fighter and the trainer, right? But when you become friends and then they maybe need to be hard on you and maybe straight to the point, is that a kind of very fine line?
I think so. I'm trying to rack my brain there, but I've had a wee sort of light bulb moment with myself and Jerry and why it works. Like it's your ethos on boxing. Like so, I've took it's Davey the Real Deal Jamieson. So it's Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. You hear me say it in all my interviews, and I keep saying it. This phrase keeps getting reiterated. It's value for money boxing. There is no more value for money fighter than Evander Holyfield. Come forward, power punches, everything that you could possibly want. And me and Jerry found a common ground on that. We love that style of boxing. Yeah. Watching, it was like a Smoking Bear Cooper fight.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like right back before Evander Holyfield was Evander Holyfield, and he was competing at a lighter weight. I mean, like these are the fights that. So me and Jerry found that. That was where we established our connection. Then the patter came, then the work came, and then so that you need to find. I don't know. Everybody will find it in a different way, but that was how me and Jerry sort of found each other.
Yeah,
and you just knew. At times I should probably be boxing, stick to my boxing and get behind my jab and move off and stuff like that. But Jerry knows that's not who I am. He knows that Davy Jamieson wants to be an exciting fight, wants to be valued for money boxing. So he knows in the corner when he's giving me advice and stuff like that, I'm going to go out there and he's not going to tell me to do something that's going to go against the grain of me.
Yeah.
Then you're just going to repel.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then that breaks down, doesn't it? That trust and that faith breaks down because you're going different ways, right? So
definitely.
It's interesting, a lot of different variables to consider into the...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
so many.
So many.
And so we touched on it earlier in terms of your next fight, Trump Turnberry Hotel, 18th of February. But for me, you look at the lineup of that, David, and it's a big night for Scottish boxing in terms of that card.
It's a privilege for me to be headlining a card with such cracking boys. Michael McGirt, Kieran Smith. These are guys that I looked up to. Kieran Smith's an exceptional talent.
Yeah, and apparently you need to be the security man between Kieran Smith and Michael McGirt getting late before your fight, because there's been a bit of back and forward on social media, and I've interviewed both boys, and they were meant to be prior to them that arranged fight that they had before it got cancelled. I actually did two of them in my flat, interviewing separately before that fight, and I did, and then it got cancelled, and I was like, can't put any of those interviews
in. But that would have been some fight, like a clash of styles, wouldn't it? Between the two. Michael's an animal, man.
Yeah, two great guys. I mean, Michael McGirt's been out the ring for a long time.
I was at his last fight. I'm sure it was an MTK show in the Emirates.
Yeah.
It was was
that the same
Lithuanian boy, wasn't it?
Was it the McGregor fruit card? No,
it was before that.
Right.
No, it wasn't. But I think if the two of them were to fight, it'd be a great fight. But to get back to my original point, it's a big card. I mean, Nathaniel Collins on that as well, Commonwealth title. Certainly going places, Nathaniel. Look forward to seeing how he progresses over the next year or two. But
definitely,
kind of headlining that type of show, it's a big night for Scottish boxing.
That's what I'm saying. No, it's an honour for me. That really is, and I don't understate that at all. Guys like that, Nathaniel, Kieran Smith, Michael McGurk, it's the guys honestly that I looked up to coming through the Scotland squad setup. Really good quality lads, and anybody that knows their boxing in Scotland knows that these are the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
The likes of your Nathaniel Collins, he was down in Sam's gym there doing a bit of training, sparring with Regan. Nathaniel, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's no ceiling on Nathaniel's career.
Good,
Nathaniel,
very good.
Nathaniel presses on to world honours. I think he'll do the business.
Yeah, honestly, he's very good.
Oh, he's got the minerals, big time.
See for you, so. Obviously, we spoke about a little bit getting involved in boxing, kind of shaking off that chubby ginger mantra, which I'm still clinging on to, by the way. So you look all right. But see, for a kid for East Kilbride, you're for East Kilbride, I'm for East Kilbride.
Yep.
We don't really have anybody like massive to look up to in terms of like boxing specifically.
No.
There's the odd one here or there that maybe we could reference, but when you were maybe 15, 16 and you started training or you started competing as an amateur, did headlining a show like this ever seem feasible, or did it always seem just a wee bit out of grasp? And be honest about that, because you can obviously have lofty dreams and you can want to achieve stuff and think you're going to do it, but this, you see yourself, it's a massive honour to be headlining this show. Did you see this happening 10 years ago?
This is a good question, because especially on a podcast like this, because I can go right into the nitty gritty and maybe tell people a wee bit more about myself.
Yes, please.
See, when I was younger and coming up, and even up until as recently as maybe 3-4 years ago, with turning professional, I was riddled with self-doubt.
Right.
I've never stepped in the ring as an amateur or professional and been in worse. No, I've always been in the better shape of the two men. I've always been a total compulsive worker.
Yeah.
But I was riddled with self-doubt as an amateur. So, and you'll see that in my performances and my record and stuff like that. I'd go in to the the quarters or the semis in the Scottish or whatever, and just batter lads, stop them in the second round, look great, and then I would totally shit my pants the next week going into. I can say that, yeah,
absolutely.
I'd shit my pants, and I would just totally tear shreds off myself, and I would go in against a guy that I should have been beaten easier maybe than the quarter or the semi, whatever, and I would just fall to pieces. It took me 3 years to win a Western District title. Totally crumpled. Just
did you know
when the occasion get the bet?
Was it the occasion? I was going to say, could you identify now what it was?
I just used to let the occasion get the better of me, and sometimes it wouldn't, and I would grasp the occasion, and sometimes the occasion would grasp me. Yeah. And it wasn't honestly until I sort of turned. I turned professional, but well, there you are. I mean, my last Scottish title, I fought Conor McDonald.
Right, okay.
For the Scottish, and it was the place at the Commonwealth Games and stuff like that. I sold a power of tickets, and just totally crumpled. And then was down at Brigton at the Performance Centre with the Scotland squad, and I was sparring with Connell the next week, and gave him a bit of bleaching, and Connell was like that. Where was that last week? Like, couldn't believe it, and everybody was looking, Craig McAvoy and all that. Everybody was like, what the hell's happened there? And I just said to everybody, I says, I bottled it. That's there you are. That doesn't get more honest than fighter. People will know hear fighters say that. I bottled it. But then I turned professional. I've got a wee bit more comfortable in my own skin. My identity in the ring, what I do, Davey the Real Deal Jamieson, what I'm all about. I don't try and go out and box. I don't try and keep it nice, sexy boxing. I go out and I get right in about it, and that's what I do well. Yeah, blood and gut stuff. And that's where I'm comfortable. That's where I'm. See, when you're outside Victor's at 3 a.m. and there's one sausage supper left, Davy Jamieson's coming out with it. That's when I know. You know, so I just get comfortable in my own skin. What makes me tick? What I'm good at? What I'm not good at? And settled as a fighter.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty there, Davy, in terms of sharing that with us. So. What is your mindset? Because for someone that you've admitted there quite openly and honestly that you shit your pants in the past, and that kind of defining moment. So what is your mindset when, maybe 2 hours before a fight and you're in the changing room and you're starting to get your hands wrapped and you're starting to warm up? Like, what's changed in terms of your...
Let me give you a wee sort of scenario, right? And I've said this before. my mindset now, see if you can draw something from this, is that, see, even if, say I was boxing in 8 weeks from tonight, right, and I left here and never set foot in a gym for 8 weeks, and that's not me, I'm a good worker, a good trainer, and you'll see that in the condition I get myself in, you'll see that in the, you know, performances in the fights. But if I never stepped foot in the gym for 8 weeks and I had to turn up on fight night to a professional fight, a 10 rounder or 8 rounder, whatever it may be, I would have complete and utter confidence in myself to go out and get the job done, even with no training. Like, there's been a total 360, not a 360 as such, because it was at times, it was inconsistency in my belief in myself. It was an inconsistency thing. Yeah. Whereas now I have complete and utter unwavering belief in myself to get the job done.
Yeah. Do you think was that brought on, David, like you spoke about the acceptance there of what you're good at and what you're not good at? Do you think that mindset, that, you know, the change came with you accepting, like, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm going to do in the ring, rather than trying to be something maybe you weren't? Do
you know, I think I've tried to put my finger on it, and it's a weird one. I do a bit of soul searching, I'm deep that way. And you know, I try to get in my own head and things, especially when you're out running, you try to go over things. And I don't know, it was something to do with turning professional. It was something to do with putting on the wee gloves. It was something to do with longer rounds. With the lights the next week, I've got half an hour to get my work off. I know I'm going to catch up with you within half an hour. At the amateurs, I was never that much of a fast starter. If you lost the first round, more often than not, you lost the fight. Yeah. And listen, with the big injection moulded foam amateur gloves, you really, really need to whack to knock somebody out. Seriously. You put on the 10-ounce professional fight gloves now, you're knocking houses down with them on. So I think that these wee things coupled, that professional boxing and amateur boxing, they're not really the same sport, and it's just that I'm much more suited to professional boxing, and I've found confidence and what's the word? Like solace in that. I just feel. Yeah. You know, it's like I've found my footing.
I think a lot of that's probably, I mean, obviously it's about the system as a professional suits you more, the setup, the way that you fight, the gloves and all that stuff. But I also think a lot of that, and you probably, if you asked 100 boxers, you'd probably find half or more of them would say the same thing, because you find out who you are as a person as well. Yeah. When you're getting a bit older and you're getting a bit comfy with yourself, and when I was a bit younger, maybe you're a bit self-conscious, or maybe you're not really sure what you're drifting between pals and doing different things. You're trying to find out where you're comfortable.
100%.
And I guess when you leave that toxic environment of being in high school in Glasgow, especially, or surrounding areas and that, you kind of have to just find out who you want to be and settle yourself with that. Yeah. And moving from amateur to professional. What age were you when you turned professional?
I was 24.
Right, so you've got all the rubbish out you. Yeah. You're out, you're working, you know who you are, you know who you want to be hanging about with and spending time with. Yeah. Us too.
Absolutely.
And I think that probably goes hand in hand with how you make that transition as well, because if you're comfortable in your cell and you know who you are in your cell, everything else should flow naturally off the back of that. Does that make sense?
Every other aspect of your life, everything comes up.
Exactly.
That's what, you know, I turned 30 the other week there, and that's what everybody said to me about the whole thing, about your 20s ending. That's a nightmare, isn't it? That's
horrible,
mate.
That's
a kick in the stones.
Horrible.
But actually, I'm more looking forward to my 30s than what I think I was for my 20s. Your 20s is a bit of madness, isn't it?
Aye.
But I think because, as you're saying, you're settled in yourself, you've been there, you've done it, you've got the t-shirt, you know what makes you happy, you know what doesn't make you happy. So your 30s is going to just be quality.
Yep.
It's the quality years there.
It's the right people, it's the right things, and that's it, like you know where you are. And obviously you get married recently. I'm a married man myself, and I'm sure at Christmas time when you were buying your wife a Christmas card, you got her a card that said wife on it, because it...
I can't believe she's done this.
No, did it not? Oh no!
I don't even know if there was a Christmas card. Who says romance is dead? Listen, it keeps her on her toes.
Well, that's true. She has told me to make sure that you get her a Valentine's card that says wife. So
apparently there's a apparent item of clothing that is in the back of the bathroom door at all times.
Mike, tell us about this.
It's the hot suit, sauna suit.
Aye.
Yes.
She said, Michaela, your wife's words were, it could crawl itself into the washing machine.
Nah, that's not strictly true. No, I do wash it. I've had, like, can you mention brand names?
Absolutely.
On this? Yeah, right.
We're not, surprisingly, we're not sponsored by a big brand.
No, right. So I must have had about like 3 box raw Hagler sauna suits. Great sauna suit, right? And it just fell to pieces. Couldn't work out what it was, and then it was because I realised that Michaela was washing it on an 80-degree cycle, and it was turning to chewing gum.
Oh.
So then I realised that you can't put these things through the wash, because even if you spin them, they separate.
Yeah.
So what happens now is I bought the new one. It was one off Amazon, the hot suit. By the way, plug. Hopefully
good,
they'll sponsor me now.
Okay.
Really good bit of kit. Half the price of the box raw one. You wash it in the bath. Wash it by hand, a bit of hot water in the bath, wash it by hand, and then you hang it up on the back of the bathroom door.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That's good. Craig's done that much prep on you today, right?
I'm terrified now because I'm looking at that sheet and I'm going, we can't even be a quarter of the way down that.
He knew what you were wearing tonight, so that's why he wore a t-shirt, because he loves you that much.
Tommy and Tommy in it.
Tribute t-shirt. Yeah.
So we'll have to match. No, we don't have that much more on you, to be fair. What's the deal with the 50p thing? Where'd that start from?
Do you know, it's the strangest thing. I really don't know. I think at some point I must have got a Paddington Bear 50 pence, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, so I put it in a Tupperware in the kitchen. And then I've got quite an addictive personality.
Right, okay.
So maybe it's a bit of the training thing and all that rubbing off, and then more 50p's get added, and then I go... it was like Paddington Bear, there's a Roger Rabbit one in there, the Olympics ones, and then I started getting into the 50p thing.
Nice.
There's something to this. So I think there's about, well, I don't know, is there 30, 40, 50 pences in it? But surely one of them's got to be worth 55 or 60.
You would think
pence.
so, aye. You would think so, aye.
I don't know. It's the strangest thing.
So when Michaela paid the window cleaner with them, he could have...
Furious.
If he sold them, he could have got £100 for them.
I can't even talk about this, right? That's just 3 years ago. No, it's no... We'll just move on. I paid the window cleaner. I took it out of that tub in the kitchen. What tub in the kitchen? Oh, the Tupperware in the cupboard. Steam coming out the ears, man.
And he's probably given that wee Paddington Bear, he's just gave it out as change to somebody else.
See, to be fair, right, I'm sure there's like, see if there's 150 pences in it, right? There's like 98 of the same Paddington Bear
probably.
One. Aye, no, it's so.
Let's hope the other ones that go up in value.
So moving on, in regards to FightZone, so FightZone will be televising the fight in regards to what they're doing. Dennis Hobson Promotions and Sam. Like what's that going to do for small hall boxing in Scotland for you?
Look at what it's done already. FightZone, it's cracking and not doing the whole plug thing. But small hall shows, and every weekend, thick and fast. What is it? Is it $5.99, $4.99?
I was actually going to jump in there and say, I think they've just announced today they're making it free for 3 months, and then it goes to $1.99.
It's on my Instagram and on my Facebook.
Oh, it's on it.
I plugged it before I came in here. Man.
David Insta 92.
92, that's it. Yep.
There we go.
No, it's cracking. It's and by the way, the production value is really good as well.
It is good.
Commentary's bang on. The replay, everything is all really professional.
Yeah.
And for a small platform like that, it's not Sky Sports, is it? But really good.
We loved the Hamilton Aki Stadium one.
Brilliant.
Right.
What a night that was.
Remember how you got us seats, remember?
Yeah, so we went out because we're media, and usually sometimes you need to help yourself to a seat and just grab a seat wherever there's one. I'm just like, where's the media? And he's like, oh, you just sit in the dugout. And then I was like, right, we can't sit here because there was a big stanchion, so I can't see the ring. So I was like, so I spoke to a random guy. He's just like, I just seen a guy handing out chairs, and I'm like, right, that's my guy. So I was like, we need 3 chairs here. Just sat them like literally about 5 yards for the ring. Square on.
Took the chairs, just put them on a turf.
Amazing.
2 minutes for
Thankfully, it was a nice night.
It was a great night.
That was a good night, yeah. Aye.
But the atmosphere, and then me and Craig went and shared a pint with Lewis Van Pooch.
Poochie, legend.
What a character.
Legend.
Oh,
yes.
Absolute legend. So
he's a great
it was a top night, but no, I'm excited about the future, and as you say, with them reducing the price as well, I mean, the value for money.
Tremendous. I know, it really is.
How did that, so I guess one of the questions we wanted to touch on was Ultimate Boxer. You stepped into Ultimate Boxer short notice from our previous conversation, I think 10 days or something.
10 days, yeah.
10 days.
Yep.
A lot of weight to cut, put on an excellent performance, and narrowly lost out in the final.
Yep.
Did the Fight Zone and the Dennis Hobson thing come springboard off the back of that? Or?
No, because you were talking about 2 years in between, so, and then there was a bit of a layoff and things like that. The Dennis Hobson thing, how did that come about? There was a sort of proving grounds thing about me going down. They'd expressed interest in me. Jerry had spoke to Dennis. Sam had obviously spoke to Dennis and said, look, this guy, it's because he was signing up all the undefeated fighters in Scotland, wasn't he? He was signing up your Calvins, he was signing up all the boys that have got like the nice glimmering record, and I've got that big stinking loss on my record, don't I? Nightmare. But I think the boxing fraternity's getting away from that. I think they realise that value for money fighters are value for money fighters. It's not, a loss doesn't define you. So Dennis's ears were open to hear, right, I want to see this boy Davey, blah blah blah, and we went down to Tottenham. Albeit Dave Preston, I limited the opponent, but I went out, I done my thing, lots of punches, going to the body, going up the middle, doing my thing, and Dennis had the hard on, and he was just, right, yeah, let's get, and before you knew it, there was a contract there to be signed, and there's the wee roadmap been laid out for us up here, and they're getting right behind me.
Brilliant. Good to see, innit? It's good to see them putting those guys on that platform as well, Craig, for us, because we spent probably a long time going to these small hall shows before that investment in the product, before your COVID and your pandemic. And I don't think it's unfair to say Scottish small hall boxing, it was up and down, right? You'd go to a show and there maybe wasn't a lot of competitive matches, or there wasn't, you're looking at bouts and you're thinking, I know this is a 40-36 for a guy that's had 2 or 3 fights already. Whereas now, I don't want to say there's pressure on the promoters, but there probably is pressure on them a little bit to turn it up a notch, because now there's eyeballs on it for places that wouldn't have been before. Does that make sense?
I think as well, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but from a budget perspective, there's got to be more money in the pot so that they can put more competitive fights on. We've all been to those Scottish small hall shows where, I've spoke about it before, and I'm not having any digs, because it mouth be hard for promoters where there's only a small pot of money to put on a show, and trying to get those competitive fights which are mouth-watering for the fans is just impossible. So hopefully Fight Zone gives them the platform where we're seeing more of these competitive fights, and and you see shows like the one at Hamilton Aki Stadium, and you're starting to see shows up in Aberdeen, you're seeing shows at Turnberry, and the one certainly Davies on is mouth-watering. There's really some top fighters and top Scottish prospects on that card, and it kind of leads into me, and hopefully I'm not moving on and Craig gives me a bad look in a second, but see, in terms of Scottish boxing, there's a lot of exciting fighters on these cards, David. Like, see, for you, who do you see reaching the kind of pinnacle in the sport, or someone that anyone watching this podcast should keep an eye on for you, other Scottish fighters? Who would you say?
Yeah, as I mentioned there, the likes here, Nathaniel Collins. I mean, Nathaniel Collins has all the minerals to go all the way. He's a worker. He's dedicated. He boxes. He's got the sexy boxing. He boxes the way we all wish we could. Hit and don't get hit. Switch hits. He can do it all. There's no reason why Nathaniel can't. If he's managed correctly and get the right fights at the right time, he couldn't press on to world honours. Absolutely, definitely.
I think in that division as well, it's one of the divisions where thankfully the titles change hands quite regularly, right? Down at those weights that they don't really cling on to them for 3-4 years like the heavyweights do. Or I think we wanted obviously to touch on, there's a lot of kind of Scottish action in terms of high profile televised fights in the next few months as well, next few weeks actually. We've got Lee McGregor fighting, we've got Josh Taylor fighting Jack Catterall obviously in the Hydro. We've got Jay Carrigan McFarlane, a boy that you kind of train sporadically with at the moment, is fighting Nick Campbell, a guy that you know as well, for the Scottish heavyweight title. What's your kind of view on the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months for the high profile Scottish guys? It's exciting that these things are kicking off. Yeah,
the likes of your Lee McGregors and your Josh Taylor, I mean, they're top of the tree for me. They're exceptional fighters. But these guys are, you hear it, fighters say it, these guys are paving the way for people like myself, your Nathaniel Collins, the boy Kieran Smiths, for the smaller hall shows. But they're bringing big time boxing back to Scotland. That's going to be a sellout at the Hydro. This is what we're looking for. Remember the big Ricky Burns nights back in the SECC all those years ago that we all used to go and sit. I mean, that was big time boxing.
It was class,
and it's coming back. It's getting there.
It's good.
I think the thing with Lee and Josh, and not to touch on it for too long, but their mindset for me and their attitude is, you know, a reason why they're at a top level as well, and their dedication to the sport. I remember I was sitting next to your friend, an employer, possibly Rob Tebbett. I was sitting next to him.
That means you don't like him, doesn't it?
Nah, he's a legend.
Our mutual friend.
Big Rob Tebbett, legend.
So Rob's a great guy, and I was sitting next to him down at the Josh Taylor Regis Prograis fight, and he said the difference between the two fighters, Regis Prograis been here a few weeks and he's going round all the tourist spots. Says Josh Taylor's just waking up every morning thinking about punching his head in.
That's it.
So that's the difference in the mindset here. And you can see that with Josh, and I can see that, you know, with Lee as well. Lee's obviously, he's got a young family. And for me, he's just a guy that's focused on top of the sport, and that's it, working, you know, day in, day out.
See, just to touch on what you're saying there, because that absolutely bang on to me what you're saying there. Lee McGregor and Josh Taylor are fighting men. They are fighters through and through. They are all about the fighting. They would be doing it for free. If they weren't getting paid, they would be still in there trying to kill somebody. That's but that's the what they like fighting. They want to fight.
It's a bit like me, innit?
That's
because I'm obviously a bit like that.
You're heading straight to
flying that flag.
Garden Hall Inn tonight.
I'm going to the Garden Hall Inn.
Just once.
I've not asked him. Anyway. I've not asked him for a lift yet, so that was my last question. But
that's a rough shop up there. By the way.
Behave.
Watch yourself.
You live next to the Westwood Bar.
The Gardaí. Come on.
Westwood Bar. Don't ever go. You might have been there to play pool or snooker, no?
Yeah, I played pool in a few venues in East Kilbride.
Interesting.
You always need to watch
I don't need to worry now. I just phone Big Davey, or if Del G's in town, phone both of them, you know.
Why'd you not phone me?
So, well, you know.
Fair enough. Cruiserweight division, obviously, Davey, we know you've obviously got a fight next week. We've kind of mentioned Ian Martell as well. Is it Ian Martell? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Ian Martell?
Who's that?
Don't know. You're going to give him a spanking from. You're going to give him a spanking from hell. That's all I know, because it rhymes. The division at the moment is quite exciting. Friend of ours, big Chris Billum-Smith, is obviously doing well, following Lawrence Okoli's lead. You've got guys like Chamberlain, Isaac Chamberlain, kind of dipping in and out and making his way back.
Strange scenario there.
Bit of a weird career after he split with Ted Bammy and after the Okoli fight. But there's a lot of activity. Jack Massey as well, a guy who fights in the same platform as you.
There you go.
The division is buzzing in the UK in a way that it maybe hasn't been for the last, I can't really remember.
Ever?
You've even got guys like Craig Glovers and that still floating about as well. What's your view on the landscape at cruiserweight, and where do you fit in just now?
I think it's very shortly about to be wide open. I don't think there's any secret that Lawrence Okoli's a problem, and I've got no problem sitting saying that. If somebody wants to phone me up and offer me 30 grand to fight him, I'd fight him, no bother. But Lawrence Okoli's a problem. He's very, very big. He's very, very awkward. And listen, he would knock the gable end off your house. And he's proved that time and time again.
I seen him training in McGuigan's the last time I was there, and I was up on the mezzanine talking to whoever I was talking to, and I was looking down, he was doing strength and conditioning. See the size of his back?
No.
Frightening, man. Like bigger than some heavyweights. Just a huge guy.
Huge guy.
He's obviously at the top of the tree, but are guys like... is Chris within your reach? Chris Billum-Smith a wee bit further ahead?
Tommy McCarthy,
great fighter as well.
Myself and Tommy actually boxed on the same show in Belfast. There's another strange one.
Nice.
Was it my second pro fight? I ended up boxing in the Shots Club in Belfast. Classy place.
Oh, was it?
Oh, listen, what an establishment.
Was it Mark Dunlop? Was that his
manager? Was it? No, it was Alio Wilton.
Right, okay.
One of Alio's shows, but what a class venue this was. Really upmarket.
Nice.
No, not at all. But Tommy was in the comeback trail there.
Right.
He boxed, we sort of boxed in the same show, and he was doing like a 6-rounder, stuff like that.
Right.
So it was like pictures and stuff like that.
Have I seen is there a video of you fighting in that venue on YouTube?
There will be,
Did you stop the boy?
Yeah,
I have seen it actually.
Taha Masserini.
People drinking pints on the ring apron, basically.
Pretty much,
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Oh no, that was Jerry. But no, so listen. The Okolis, the top of the tree. These guys, everybody's talking. Is he going to press on? Maybe step up to heavyweight. But see everybody below that, and no disrespect to all these guys, they're really, really good fighters. But I don't honestly. There's no problem with me jumping in there with any of them. Give them their place. They're all good fighters. But no, I would take any fight.
I don't personally in the cruiserweight in terms of fighters from the UK. For me, I think Okoli maybe one more fight. I can see him moving up. It's where the money lies.
Chase the money.
He's a top fighter, but I agree with what you're saying. When you look at the rest of the fighters in the UK, I don't think there's too much. Like I think it's a very competitive
It's
division
very
in
nip
terms
and
of other
tuck.
fighters. Yeah,
Aye, very nip and tuck, and it's I said that in previous interviews. It's a right good jail of styles. Your Tommy McCarthy's, his slick boxing, me, power puncher, destroyer. Your Billum Smith, he's a nice boxer. There's that many good matchups. It's still cliche styles make fights, isn't it? There's that many good styles.
Yeah. Craig, what's going to happen if Davy Jamieson fights Chris Billum Smith? Because I know personally how fond you are of both of them. So what are you going to do there? Just going to get really drunk like you do at normal events, and then
I'll probably just
shake the hand
just
of
treat it normally.
winner and the loser.
Well, what I'll do is probably gravitate towards the winner and never speak to the loser again. That's probably what I'll do.
Chris is a top
Brilliant
guy.
guy.
Like,
Well, gentleman.
Yeah, he's just a gentleman.
Class act.
Just a gentleman.
yeah, he's just like you set up. Craig set up an interview for me when I was down in London with Chris, and it was terrible because he came out to meet me at the train station. I was like, what a gentleman.
Right.
But he's like, oh, sorry, just like Josh Taylor's sparring Luke Campbell in there. And I'm like, fucking let me in. Come on.
Unbelievable. Aye.
So I had to interview this guy just like the middle of the street. I'm like, come on.
Aye. But he wouldn't
in? No, right, closed door stuff.
Shane's very, very.
In case you had like one of these like camera pens in your pocket, like Soviet Union stuff like that.
I get it.
Don't mention them. Fuck, they might be watching.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I was gutted. I was gutted with that because I'm like, oh, I wish you just hadn't told me that, and I'm not standing in the middle of a random street in London interviewing you.
But he wouldn't say no. That's how good a guy is. He wouldn't say no. He was happy to come and do it. Division is obviously bubbling up. Jack Massey fight, man. That's what I want.
Listen, again, you hear me say it all the time, the value for money stuff. I mean, not jumping on too far, but
yeah, of course.
Me and Jack Massey, anybody that knows boxing or knows me and knows Jack knows that is a tear up. That's value for money boxing there.
He's the full IBO champion now, isn't he?
World, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We're fighting for the IBO International next week.
Okay.
Gets us registered with the IBO.
Okay.
Easy fight to make.
Yeah. Interesting times.
He's going to beat Martell and then he's Jack Massey.
Martell, I'm fed up with Martell. You? I'm fed up with him.
He's just signed. I think what's just been happened is it's been put out to purse bids for him to fight Luke Watkins for the English title.
I'm actually speaking to Luke next week.
Right. Well,
Luke the Duke.
It's an opportunity to blade in again.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to say I'm going to get rid of Ian Martell. I'm fed up with him.
Um,
No, because you want to fight him, don't you? So we'll hold off until.
Oh no, I'll get him first, then you get him second. Mate. I'll soften him up for you.
So Jay McFarlane, Nick Campbell.
Yep. Oh, that's a clash of styles, isn't it?
Tasty
Two
one.
people you know well. How do you see that going?
Yep, shared the ring with both of them. Obviously, train alongside Jay. Jay's in with myself and Jerry down at Priestfield. Hi, it's again, it's an intriguing one, isn't it? It's the jail of styles. Big Nicky lives a life as an athlete, former Glasgow Warriors rugby player. Jay, maybe, and they'll probably be watching this, they'll not kill me for saying it, but doesn't live the life, but has bags of ability and gets by on that. So it is, listen, it's an interesting one. It's one for everybody to watch. It's a good undercard fight.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm slightly concerned, and obviously I know you're probably very friendly with Jay, and I've interviewed and I've spoke to Jay in the past, but it's worrying for me when you see Jay that's not in shape, and this is the biggest fight of his life.
Yep.
And it's Josh Taylor's an undisputed world champion fighting after his fight at the Hydro.
Yep.
I mean, my worries there are if you can't motivate yourself for that type of fight, what are you going to motivate yourself for? And I don't know, I'm not expecting you to say anything bad on Jay, and I don't want to either, but I'm worried about his health to an extent, because when you're getting in with a big guy that's an athlete... This is no
joke. No, listen, see what you're saying there, and that's the side of boxing that people don't want to talk about. This is no joke. All the sparring through camp, the fights on the night, it will catch up with you, and it's your health. Fighters don't like to talk about it and don't like to think about it, but it's miles on the clock, this. And if you're sitting, it's 100%.
I also think I think Jay's been quite open in saying he suffers with some kind of issues regarding his mental health as well, which is very big of him to come out and say in a sport like this where people put on a brave face and bite down in a gum shield and pretend it's not happening. He's been quite open about that, which you can only commend him for, but that can't be putting you in the right frame of mind or giving you the right preparation going into a big dangerous fight like this. And I don't know what he's been doing or if he's been training. It's not for us to say, right? But if that's right, there's more chance of everything else being right. If that's no right, surely there's a higher probability that everything else comes unstuck.
Yeah, I mean, before this podcast started, you know, you're kind of looking for your page, you're looking for your pint. I had a look at Davy's hands, and I was
really wondering what you were doing there.
I would not like to be punched by those hands, right?
Yeah.
He's a cruiserweight, right? He's a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
So Jay's fighting heavyweight, right? So if you're not in shape, and I do sympathise if he has had kind of mental issues. For me, yeah, I'm a bit concerned with that fight going ahead, if I'm honest with you, because it's heavyweight where one punch can seriously damage someone, you know, any weight, but more so heavyweight. And Nick's a guy that was a Glasgow Warriors rugby player, so you know he's going to turn up in shape. He's a big guy. And is it Josh? Who was your Josh that Jay fought before? Josh Sandland.
Sandland. So, cracking big guy, by the way.
So I was at that fight, and for me,
I was going to fight him.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That wasn't pleasant to watch for me, like, because
No.
Jay's very tough. Like, I will give him that as well. He took several big punches that night. I know Josh. I know he's not the biggest heavyweight in the world. He's probably more of a cruiserweight size. But that wasn't enjoyable for me to watch. So I'm just saying, I'm not having a big go at Jay, but I'm slightly concerned at the fact that someone for the biggest fight of their career isn't in shape and potentially might not be there in the right place mentally for that fight.
Boxing can be so positive because when you see two guys going in at the peak of their game, top condition, great mentally, it's everybody's all for it. But as soon as that's not the case and somebody's not quite right or not, is it self-destruct? It's then, you know, boxing can be, as much as it's a coping mechanism for people, it can be a bit of self-destruction as well, because putting yourself in there in harm's way, it's not. It might give you a wee bit of respite from the demons that you're fighting, but it's not.
And I think it's probably important to say we don't see everything that's happening, right? We don't see all the ins and outs. We don't know what's going on or what he's doing or what he's not doing. So it's not for us to say, but it probably just drives home the point that somebody like Davey does take it seriously, is as professional as it gets himself in the best shape as possible. And you would hope that people would approach it the same way. All the best to both of them. It's a massive platform and a massive opportunity for both of them.
Serious.
Hopefully they both come out healthy. They both come out with a bit of money in the pocket, and it's a big night for Scottish heavyweight boxing.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
And I think the same way that boxing can bring out the negatives in something or kind of drag you towards looking at the worst case scenario. What if Jay walks in there and knocks him out in the first round?
Listen, but this is why it's intriguing,
right? So it flips it, totally flips the narrative. So you never know what's going to happen, especially up at heavyweight. But it's an interesting fight. Wanted to talk to you about probably the last subject.
Oh no, you're getting it, Michaela.
It's not Michaela at the moment. One of the things we wanted to speak to you about, and we're conscious that you still are working, full time, constantly working in a day job, balancing that with training before and after as well. Like, seen some pictures the last few days of your diet and the stuff you're eating. I'm sure Greg will fling a picture up that we've sent him over. I don't know what the fuck that was. Was it quinoa or something?
It will have been.
Today's meal. How hard is that? Try and talk us through a day in the life of being in the headspace of a fighter, and then being at it during the day job.
I think the way you need to look at it is it's character building, isn't it? You need to go through, it's all the cheesy metaphors for Instagram. You need to go through all the bad days to give you clarity on the good days. So your day starts at 5 a.m, you're up out running 4 or 5 miles, you're home, shower, into work. I'm a workshop manager for a company that builds like GRP pod bathrooms.
Right,
so
okay.
it's really rock and roll stuff, do you know what I mean? But no, we've got a right good team of boys all working for us. My gaffer Tommy, absolutely sound as. But it's manual labour, it's very physical. You're on the tools all day. We start at 7, we finish at 4. So it's a 9-hour day. And then you're in the gym at 5, 6, and then you're not up the road till maybe 8:30 at night. It's a long day, but any young that's not what our poor Davy Jamieson. That's like any young aspiring fighter that's trying to keep a roof over their head and pay a mortgage and I don't know what misconceptions people have got about boxing, but until you're making money, you're not making money.
Yeah.
The time and effort invested, I mean, you're on less than minimum wage here by the time, he's making $6,000 here. But if you average your $6,000 over 4 months of training,
Yeah.
you know. But no, listen, look, I'm happy to be doing it. We're getting to the good bit here. The whole signing with the Dennis Hobson thing's been a new lease of life. The FightZone scenario. Look, I'm fighting for an IBO International title next week. You know, nice bit of silverware. Looking to press on to promise of bigger fights after that. Prospects, and it's, if you can't pull the trigger now, when can you pull the trigger? Because when you're sort of in limbo and you've not really got anything coming up, that's hard. But this is us getting to the good bit now. So I'm actually, as much as I'm knackered and starving and just the same as every other fighter, you know, it's sort of violins, isn't it? Poor me. But no, I'm buzzing off it. I can't wait. I just want to make weight, fuel up next week, and go in here and just enjoy it.
Yeah. You see there's a couple of professionals in the last, like, sort of early on in their careers that have been able to jack the jobs. Dean Sutherland, up in Aberdeen, cracking fighter Dean as well. And Regan Glacken still early on in his journey. We're going to get Regan on hopefully in the next couple of podcasts. They've been able to secure that sponsorship and kind of focus full time on boxing. Is that a possibility for you, or what's the kind of, how close are you to that, I guess?
A week away. When I lift the IBO International title, I've got a couple of sponsors there that are looking to come on board. Wow. And they're going to pay me a week of wage.
Wow, that's a big change.
Yep. Couple of big guys, Jim McCuskey and Vira Queen, East Kilbride and things like that.
Nice.
So hometown support.
Yeah.
And it's not all just coming through Jim, but there's, shout out to Woody down south, Lee Woods. So he's coming on. He's got like a liftings and logistics company.
Okay.
He's going to help me out, and they're all going to come together basically to make sure all my bills are paid. I've got money there, and I can commit myself to boxing.
Wow, so you'll be going full time?
Yep.
Well, there we go, official. Roots of Boxing podcast as well. Craig's going to put up the money as well.
I'll give you. Much we paying?
I'll put your name in my t-shirt. But no, that's
exciting though. Yeah, that's exciting.
It's don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not. I'm still humming and hawing about the whole thing. It's I get up and I go to my work. That's just what I've always done, and I will struggle. Don't get me wrong. I'll be able to manage my time better. It's more the rest in between sessions.
Yeah.
And trying to accustomise to life as a full-time athlete.
Yeah.
But breaking in to the good part of this blueprint with Dennis Hobson and stuff, I need to give myself every opportunity here. There's not going to be this in 3-4 years. It's now. So I can always go back on the tools. I can always pick up an impact driver or a drill and put screws in. That'll always be there. This will not.
Yeah.
So I need to just give myself the best opportunity I can over the next 2-3 years.
So does that mean when he wins his fight at Turnberry, he's getting on the beers after his fight?
Oh, surely. Do you drink? What do you drink?
Well, here's one for you.
Or are you a big drinker?
This might put half my audience off me, right? No, I'm not a big drinker, but I like a drink. Tennent's Lager, that's my one. I like the odd half bottle of Buckfast and things like that. But no, see, to be honest, right, I've actually toyed with the idea. I don't get a drink that often. But I've toyed with the idea of wrapping it.
Altogether?
Altogether. Well, maybe not. Like the problem is, if I have a pint of Tennent's Lager, I couldn't go out for a meal and have a pint of Tennent's. It'd be 10 pints of Tennent's.
I'm the same, I know.
I can do it with a Guinness. I can enjoy a Guinness. I can sit and have 1 or 2 Guinness.
It's a bit of a slower drink, innit, a Guinness?
And go to my bed. But the problem is, it's maybe the binge drinking culture over here, and it's. I pointed to that perfect draft machine earlier on when I came in the room, and I bought one 2 years ago when we first went into lockdown. And you were 10 pints before 8
because
o'clock.
Because it's in there, innit? It's in there. I'd said that earlier on. My mates were talking about filling up the perfect draft, and they were like, when was the last time you bought a keg? And I said, if I buy a keg, I'll see it as a mission to finish the keg. It. And then I'll go, fuck, I didn't actually have to have 7 pints on a Tuesday night.
It's like a share bag at Walkers or whatever.
You need to finish them.
You're going to put the peg on it and put it back in the cupboard. Come on.
His new party piece is on a random Monday night. You know, I'll go onto Instagram and Craig Scott's story, and he's like sitting in the bath listening to Harry Styles with a pint of Tennent's at 11:30 at night. And I'm like,
love
does
Harry
this guy
Styles.
actually have a job? He's told me he's worked in the banking sector for a while, but does this guy actually
What
work?
sector? What sector?
That doesn't happen in the bath. It's too messy. I think we'll leave it there. And I think the good news is if you go full time, you only get up at 5 a.m. and stub your toe in the bed and wake Michaela up every morning. That's what she says you do every single morning.
Aye.
So that is also very good. It's been good, mate. Anything else you want to add?
I'm just looking forward to Davy's carbonara in the next pod that he brings up for
Imagine
dinner.
that.
We can have a few pints of tenants to wash it down.
Listen, let's get a wee gas stove in here now. After the fight, and once I've got a wee bit of time, I'll come in here and I'll do like a Gino De Campo-esque.
I would
Right,
love
we'll
that.
set the camera up over there, we'll do it. You can sit at the table and I'll plate it up.
You've
You can have a
got
wee
to
taste.
garnish with a wee bit of truffle over the top of it.
There you go.
Oh,
there.
a wee bit of
Aye,
truffle.
wee bit of
There you
fresh
go.
parsley.
Superb. Thanks very much, Davey. Obviously, I know you're fighting next week, so it was good of you to cram this in. Really appreciate it. Best of luck next week. We're both going to be there. Looking forward to cheering you on when you get that win, which, as you've just told us there, could actually be life-changing for you, mate. So,
Yeah.
massive, massive fight. Great to talk to you. Genuine thanks to your wife, Michaela. And I know the only reason you made it here is because she put interview with Craig Scott in her diary for you. So, she sent us a picture of that over as well.
Life in the fast lane, do you know what I mean? My schedule's that busy. Aye.
The other days were all empty, to be fair.
that's a
So,
fact.
Yeah.
but no, really appreciate it, mate. Brilliant as always.
Top
Thanks very
draw,
much.
gentlemen. Thank
Cheers,
you very
Davey.
much for having me on. It's been a privilege.
Great. Cheers.